guys, it's Kevin, my review for the first installment of the Hulu anthology series Into the Dark. This one is called The Body. And what The Body is essentially about is we center on this serial killer, and he is someone who he's very methodical, and he's just gotten done with disemboweling one of his victims. He's in this body bag and everything. Unfortunately, though, this happens to be at the time a Halloween party is going on, and basically he finds himself caught up in this party where everyone else seems to think it's a costume, and he has to try to find a way to navigate his way around the party, you know, finish the task and things like that, and also try to survive the night, and that's really all I'm going to say. So, The Body overall, I was very intrigued by this movie. I really did not know how this was going to turn out, especially because all I really knew about Into the Dark is that it was going to be an anthology series in which a different movie is released every single month pertaining to that certain holiday in that month, which I think is an amazing idea. I can't believe someone else hasn't already come up with something like this, but this is a really cool idea, and I was really interested in seeing what they were going to do, especially because it's Halloween, and I'm really clamoring for something Halloween related. I really was excited to see how this was going to go. And I will say, after watching The Body, this is a decent start. It's not amazing. It's not anything that really impresses me that much. And right out of the gate, I definitely do see a lot of potential for Into the Dark. It's just that I don't think this is going to be one of their stronger installments. But we're just getting to right now, starting off with the cast. And I will say that's definitely one of the best things about this film. I think the cast here is really great. Specifically, our main character here, Tom Bateman as Wilkes, is so good here. Not only is he very menacing and just very creepy in that sense, and he's a very calculated villain, but he relishes in playing this role. You can tell he loves playing this evil, deplorable human being, and I really love seeing that. Wilkes in general is a very fascinating character. The way he views the world, he has a very cynical viewpoint and things like that I thought was very interesting. But again, Bateman really does shine in the scenes where he just gets to be so gloriously evil, and I really loved what he got to do here. I think he did a phenomenal job in this film. He is, well, maybe not phenomenal, but he definitely did a really great job in this film. I think for sure he is the best thing about this film. There's a lot of things to like about this film, but he is definitely the best one of them all, because I really do think he was great here. The character itself isn't really all that original, but Bateman adds so much to the role that you really can get behind it, and I think he just did such a great job in this role. And then Rebecca Rittenhouse as well, I also really liked her. I've liked her in pretty much everything I've seen her in, and this is really no exception as the character of Maggie. I think she did a very good job here. And what I really like about Maggie is that, unlike her friends, she's not scared by Wilkes. She's not mocking Wilkes. She's intrigued by him. She wants to know more about him, and these two kind of start to form this very interesting relationship that I really loved getting into, and the film I think is really at its best when it's centering on these two characters and them really trying to get to know each other. Rittenhouse and Bateman's chemistry is really great. I think they worked very well together. I really loved where her character especially ended up going, and I think she did a really great job in this film. As far as everyone else goes, everyone else here is pretty much fine. There's a lot of familiar faces in here, like David Huel from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and Ray Santiago from Ash vs. Evil Dead. They both do a solid job. Same with Aurora Perrineau, but no, and I will say, much better performance from Aurora Perrineau coming off the heels of Truth or Dare. That is for sure. She looks a lot better in this film than she was, and maybe it's just because she was so bad or Truth or Dare that she comes off looking better in this movie than she is, but I do think she did a good job. I think pretty much everyone did do a solid job in this movie. The cast is definitely not the problem here at all. So now I do want to get to the directing and the writing, which this is where the film starts to falter a bit for me, because again, I do like this film, but there are definitely a lot of things that I do think hold it back, specifically the directing. The directing here, it's a bit uneven, and I don't know if this is a directorial debut. I'm not entirely sure. but at times it does very much feel like one. It feels like Paul Davis, he's still trying to figure out what his style really is, because at points this movie is very much a satire, kind of like something in the vein of Scream or something like that, where they're making fun of some of the tropes going on, and then the film takes itself really seriously. And look, sure, Scream did something similar to that, but with this film, it just does not seem to have an established tone, and for me, I do think that does hold the film back a bit, but not to the point where I can say it bothered me, because I do think the comedy for the most part does work okay here. It's nothing like uproariously funny, but I do think that it was fun overall. I definitely did have fun with it, but I also was very intrigued, and I do think the directing, they did a good job. You know, he did a good job. His tone in general, he's got a little bit to work on, and the writing as well, that's really when this film does really kind of not fall apart, but that's where this film does kind of get a little bit lower than I think it really could have, and that's mainly because while I do enjoy this film a lot, it has to be said, this really does feel like two completely different movies, and you really do get that sense. At first, it doesn't. When, you know, Wilkes, at first meets all these characters, it feels like this is just going to be a really fun horror comedy. But then the group splits up, and we see him start to interact more with Rittenhouse, and that part of the movie is infinitely better than everything that is going on with the other survivors. Because, like I said, when it's him and Rittenhouse and them trying to get to know each other and finding the common interests that they have, and really seeing why Rittenhouse would take a liking to him, that's when I think this film works really great. And that's when I really like getting into this film. There's a really great scene where it's just the two of them talking, and you see the similar interests that they have. And again, even though Wilkes is someone who is extremely sardonic, who, like I said, he has this very nihilistic viewpoint of the world. He views everyone as very disposable. You really can't help but be fascinated by the way he does look at the world, and you can see why Maggie would take an interest in him, and I did like where they went with these two characters. I think they do a solid enough job to carry this film, and I did like what we had with the two of them, and especially when it comes to Wilkes and him trying to figure out how to stop these three strangers from foiling his plans, and eventually factoring Maggie into the equation. I really did love where they ended up going with that. I will say, neither one of the characters, Wilkes or Maggie, really does go through that much of an arc. Maggie does, but not really Wilkes. Wilkes pretty much, he stays a serial killer, and he ends the movie as a serial killer. That's who he is. He knows very well who he is, and he doesn't want anyone to change that, and that was fine for me, because that's the character. He's clearly playing this very cold-hearted guy who he's not really going to change anytime soon. He's too far gone, and I'm fine with that. Maggie, on the other hand, does actually go through a significant shift in the film, and I did actually think it was really interesting where they ended up going with her, and I really did enjoy that a lot. The problem is, when the movie cuts back to the three survivors, it does get kind of boring, and I wasn't really all that into what was going on with them. I found most of them to be very much lacking in terms of character. There's not really anything to them, and they're really not very smart either, and I get it. The film is clearly trying to make fun of that. It's very aware that these three are highly incompetent, and that they don't really do the things that you should do in horror films, but again, because of how different these two films really do feel, it really does stand out here, because this side is a lot more goofy, there's a lot more comedy there, and some of it does work, and some of it doesn't, and especially when it's focused on Ray Santiago, I did enjoy what they did with him, but the other two, I just did not really care about at all on an emotional level. I didn't really think that they did a good job with fleshing these characters out, and you know from the second they come on screen, these characters are going to die. They're not going to make it out of the film, so there really is no suspense there. You hear Bateman throughout the film constantly talking about how he's going to go after them and how he's going to, foil, how he's not going to let them get away with, getting rid of this body. He's going to make sure that he gets a hold of it and that he stays on top of things at the end of the day. So there's just not really a lot of suspense there, and I do think that does really hold the film down a bit. Again, Rittenhouse and Bateman work very well together, and I like their side of the film. It's just whenever we cut to those three, I was really not as interested. I found myself just getting a little bit bored. Not completely bored, like I still liked where we ended up going with those three characters, but I just needed more there. I didn't give a shit about them, honestly. I found them to be very one-notes, and I just needed just a lot more from those three that just wasn't really there. I will say cinematography-wise, this film is very good. It has a very good look to it. However, many people brought this up. It really does not look like a movie. You could tell that this was supposed to be like a TV series, and that's what's especially weird about this film. I thought that this was going to be a TV series, and it seems like Hulu is trying to approach this as a movie, and a lot of it just feels like an extended, like, Black Mirror episode. Like, that's very much what this does feel like. It doesn't really have that movie sort of feel to it. And the cinematography is good, but again, it's just not really anything that amazing. The score is fine, I guess, and the pacing, again, it does drag a bit, and I really do think this would have worked a little bit better if it was like a 60-minute TV episode. I think they could have done a little bit more with it, and you know, I think there are some things that really do kind of drag on here a bit, especially one character that ends up getting killed early on in the film. Doesn't really amount to much. I think they could have done more with that character, and they just really didn't. Ultimately, this is a solid start to the Into the Dark anthology. I like where we're going with it. I did like Bateman and Rittenhouse. They do a good job with elevating this film, but it's fairly standard. It really isn't anything I'm going to remember at the end of the day. It really just makes me interested in seeing what the other installments are going to be like here. I assume this is going to be one of those anthologies where, you know, there isn't really a set tone. They all kind of feel different, and I'm all for that. I'm hoping that the next one they do just feels a little more even with its tone, gives us characters that we can just latch on to a little more, because it is hard to latch on to a lot of these characters. Again, Wilkes is an exception because he's supposed to be very cold-hearted and very unlikable in that sense, and he does do a good job with displaying that, but it's the other characters here, the three survivors especially, that really just are lacking, and I really needed a lot more from. But at the end of the day, I did still enjoy The Body. I do think it is a decent start at best, and I am going to give the first installment of Into the Dark, The Body, overall a B-. Like I said, I'm very interested in seeing where they do end up going with it. I am going to be reviewing the rest of the installments as they come out. I like that this is like once a month, so I'm never really behind. It's, you know, it's not one of those things where you have to watch the full season because everyone's watched it already. No, we can all kind of watch this at our own pace, and I definitely do enjoy that a lot. I'm very interested in seeing what they do for the Thanksgiving one that is coming next month. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall. A movie, TV show, I honestly don't know what to categorize it as, but either way, I'm reviewing it. Hope you guys do enjoy the other movies that come out. Did you enjoy this one? Are you going to check out the other installments of Into the Dark? But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you guys in my next video, which, don't worry guys, I know you were looking forward to it, but Auburn Wonder and I's Doctor Who review will be coming tomorrow night. Unfortunately, neither of us have been able to watch it till now, so look forward to that. We will be reviewing the series premiere for Series 11. Very excited for that, so definitely get excited for that one. And also on Wednesday, well, actually Thursday, I will be reviewing the first half of American Horror Story Apocalypse with my good buddy Jackson Fulcher, so look forward to that as well. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.